Have you ever wondered why some people find peace and freedom as they age, while others feel trapped in their relationships? The truth is, as you get older, having a partner may not always be the blessing people assume it is. In fact, for many, it can turn into a slow and silent poison, draining their energy, limiting their choices, and even making their later years more stressful than they need to be. If you've ever felt like maintaining a relationship at this stage in life takes more than it gives, you are not alone. In this video, we're diving into 5 key reasons why having a partner in old age can actually make life harder instead of easier. And here's the thing, understanding these reasons doesn't mean you should avoid companionship altogether. Instead, it's about being wise enough to see the full picture and making decisions that truly serve your well-being. Stay with me until the very end, because what we're going to discuss might just change the way you see relationships in your later years forever. Number 1, the emotional burden of constant compromise. As you get older, your ability to tolerate unnecessary stress decreases, yet being in a relationship often requires constant compromise. When you're younger, it may feel natural to adjust your habits, preferences, and even your goals for the sake of maintaining harmony. But as the years go by, you begin to realize that the sacrifices you make are not always worth the peace you lose. Simple daily choices, what to eat, where to go, how to spend time can turn into endless discussions, draining your energy and leaving you feeling emotionally exhausted. Take Robert, for example, a 74-year-old man who spent decades adjusting to his wife's needs, only to realize that his own desires had taken a backseat for years. Now, in his later years, all he wants is to enjoy his mornings in silence. But his wife insists on watching loud television the moment she wakes up. Small issues like these accumulate over time, turning what was once a loving partnership into a series of frustrating compromises. The reality is, after a certain point in life, you should no longer feel obligated to accommodate every preference of another person at the cost of your own happiness. Many people in relationships find themselves stuck in emotional routines where they are constantly managing someone else's feelings, reassuring, apologizing, adjusting. But in old age, the weight of these responsibilities can feel heavier than ever. You may notice that instead of feeling free to enjoy your days as you wish, you're still caught in cycles of making sure your partner is content, even if it comes at your own expense. The harsh truth, a relationship that drains your emotional energy in old age is no longer a relationship that serves you. At this stage in life, peace of mind should be your top priority. Yet many people remain in relationships out of habit rather than genuine joy, unaware of how much lighter life could be if they simply allowed themselves to step back from the burden of constant compromise. Number 2, the loss of true independence. One of the greatest freedoms of old age is the ability to finally live life on your own terms. After decades of responsibilities, raising children, working hard, and maintaining relationships, you earn the right to do as you please. Yet being in a relationship often means that your choices are still tied to someone else's needs, habits, and expectations. You might think you're enjoying your golden years together, but in reality, you may be sacrificing the very thing that makes this stage of life truly fulfilling: absolute independence. Consider Frank, a 78-year-old man who spent his life as a dedicated husband. After his wife passed, he realized that he had never truly made decisions just for himself. His entire life had been structured around compromise, from where they lived to what they ate to how they spent their free time. When he finally experienced true independence, he discovered something surprising. He had never known the joy of waking up with no obligations, no schedules dictated by another person's needs, and no pressure to explain his choices. It was a sense of freedom he had unknowingly longed for his entire life. Many older couples struggle with this reality. Even in happy relationships, you're expected to check in, coordinate schedules, and adjust your plans to accommodate another person. It's not about disliking your partner. It's simply about recognizing how much of your autonomy disappears in a shared life. You may no longer feel free to travel on a whim, pick up new hobbies without consultation, or even change your routine without considering someone else's reaction. And then there's the mental independence that slowly erodes over time. In a long-term relationship, opinions become blended and individual perspectives can fade. You might not even realize how much your thought process has been influenced by years of discussions, debates, and compromises with your partner. But when you're truly alone, you gain the rare opportunity to reconnect with your pure, unfiltered thoughts. You remember what it feels like to make decisions solely based on what brings you happiness, not what maintains balance in a relationship. Independence isn't just about living alone. It's about the ability to move through life without unnecessary constraints. The longer you're in a relationship, the more you become conditioned to adapt and adjust. But in old age, the greatest gift you can give yourself is the ability to live without those invisible restrictions, fully embracing your own desires without hesitation. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 3, the emotional exhaustion that comes with constant compromise. At first, relationships feel like they bring comfort, support, and joy. But as you age, you might begin to realize that they also require something you may not have: the energy for any more constant compromise. It's a slow and subtle drain, something that might not seem obvious until you experience the alternative: peaceful solitude where every decision is yours alone. Take Robert, a 74-year-old man who spent decades in marriage. He loved his wife dearly, but he often found himself making small sacrifices, watching movies he didn't enjoy, dining at restaurants that weren't his preference, or adjusting his daily routine to fit hers. None of these were major sacrifices on their own, but they added up. After she passed away, he expected to feel lonely. Instead, what he found was a deep sense of relief. He could finally do what he wanted, when he wanted, without constantly considering how it affected someone else. It wasn't that he didn't love his wife. It was simply that he had underestimated how exhausting it was to always compromise. When you're young, compromise is part of growth. It teaches patience, understanding, and teamwork. But in old age, it becomes more of a burden. At a time in life when you should be resting, reflecting, and fully enjoying your freedom, a relationship still demands adjustments. You might not even realize how much of yourself you've given, up until you step away from the dynamic of always negotiating your needs with someone else's. Even the simplest aspects of life can become emotionally exhausting when shared with a partner. From deciding how to decorate the home to making medical decisions, everything involves discussions, agreements, and sometimes disagreements. For many, this process eventually wears them down, making them more tired than they should be in their later years. The truth is, as you get older, the peace that comes from making decisions without resistance or debate becomes one of the greatest luxuries in life. You no longer have to justify your choices, defend your preferences, or suppress small annoyances. And that mental clarity, the ability to simply be yourself, without filtering your thoughts for someone else's approval, can be one of the most refreshing experiences of all. Number 4, the burden of caretaking that no one talks about. When people think of long-term relationships in old age, they often imagine companionship, support, and love lasting through the final years of life. What they don't always consider is the overwhelming responsibility that comes with caring for a partner when their health begins to decline. And in many cases, that decline happens faster than expected. Take James, for instance. At 77, he had been married for over 50 years. When his wife fell ill, he naturally stepped into the role of caretaker. At first, it was manageable, helping with small tasks, making sure she took her medications, and providing emotional support. But as the months turned into years, his own health began to deteriorate. He wasn't sleeping well, he had lost weight, and his stress levels were through the roof. He rarely had time to focus on himself, and what started as an act of love turned into an obligation that consumed his every moment. This is a reality for many elderly couples. When one partner becomes sick, the other often takes on the responsibility of full-time care. And while it may seem noble and honorable, the truth is that it can be devastating to one's own well-being. Studies show that caregivers, particularly elderly ones, often experience higher rates of depression, anxiety, and even physical illness due to the stress of tending to another person's needs. It's a role that is both physically and emotionally demanding, and one that leaves little room for personal freedom. The sad irony is that by the time one partner passes away, the other is often left in worse health than they would have been if they had remained alone. And even if both partners are healthy, the stress of worrying about each other, making sure the other is eating well, making medical appointments, and staying active can be mentally exhausting. Many seniors who remain single or choose to live independently in their later years find that they avoid this fate entirely. Without the constant worry about someone else's health, they have the freedom to prioritize their own well-being, ensuring they maintain their energy, their routines, and their own happiness. Loving someone is beautiful, but carrying the weight of another person's declining health can be one of the hardest burdens to bear. And as you age, choosing to prioritize your own mental and physical health might just be the best decision you can make. If you're still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 4 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Now let's move forward. Number 5, the financial and emotional strain of late-life partnerships. Many people assume that having a partner in old age brings comfort and security, but what they fail to realize is that it can also bring an immense financial and emotional strain. The later years of life should be a time of peace, but for many who remain in relationships, they find themselves dealing with the added stress of shared expenses, medical bills, and even disputes over money. Think about Robert, an 80-year-old man who had been widowed for over a decade. He lived comfortably on his savings and pension, spending his time doing things he loved. But when he entered a new relationship in his mid-70s, things changed. His new partner had financial struggles of her own, and suddenly he found himself paying for more than he expected: shared living expenses, medical costs, and even helping her adult children with their problems. What started as companionship quickly turned into an unspoken financial obligation, and before he knew it, he was dipping into his savings just to maintain the relationship. This isn't uncommon. Many seniors who enter relationships later in life find that their financial security becomes intertwined with another person's circumstances. And while some couples manage this well, others experience deep stress when one partner is financially dependent on the other. It's not just about money, it's about control, independence, and fairness. Beyond finances, there's also the emotional cost. Arguments over spending habits, inheritances, or medical expenses can lead to resentment. Some seniors find themselves trapped in toxic relationships, unable to leave because of financial dependence or fear of being alone. The result? More stress, less happiness, and a sense of obligation that overshadows what should be a fulfilling final chapter in life. On the other hand, those who choose to remain single often report feeling more in control of their financial futures. They spend money on their own terms, save without guilt, and make decisions that serve their best interests. There's a freedom in knowing that every dollar they earn, save, or spend is entirely their own decision. Ultimately, relationships in old age aren't just about love. They come with responsibilities, financial burdens, and emotional tolls that many people overlook. If financial security and peace of mind matter to you, staying independent may be one of the wisest choices you make. Final thoughts. As you journey through life, the choices you make in your later years become even more important. While many assume that having a partner is a necessity, the reality is that for some, it brings more stress than joy. Aging should be about freedom. Freedom to make your own decisions, to live without unnecessary burdens, and to prioritize your own well-being. The idea that companionship is the key to happiness isn't always true, especially if that companionship comes with obligations, conflicts, and limitations on your independence. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Are you living in a way that truly serves your happiness? Are you maintaining relationships because they genuinely bring you joy? Or are you holding on to them out of habit, fear, or obligation? Every person's situation is different, but one thing is certain: your later years should be a time of peace, not unnecessary hardship. Whether you choose to be with someone or remain independent, make sure it's because it genuinely makes your life better. Aging isn't about following societal expectations. It's about making the smartest decisions for yourself. And sometimes the smartest decision is walking away from what no longer serves you. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your thoughts are important to us, so don't hesitate to share them. Reading your comments gives us great motivation and encouragement. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.